We're pleased now to be joined by a longtime friend, former Vol, does a great job in the broadcast booth. We certainly enjoy listening to him each Saturday when we get a chance, and that is Charles Davis. Charles, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys today?
Well, we're doing fine. Thank you so much for joining us. Always good to visit with you. And I wanted to talk to you about Tennessee's new hire. You know Butch Jones. You've had dealings with Butch Jones. What are your thoughts on him as a hire at Tennessee?
Well, Jimmy, is Vince there too?
Yeah. Hey, Charles.
Hey, Vince. How you doing?
I'm great.
First and foremost, I'm happy for Butch. I think that ultimately we will be happy at Tennessee. Based on everything I've seen, heard, felt, yes, things have come directly to me also because I try to avoid the Twitter stream. But I've heard about it. There's been a lot of negativity. And I'm not here to point a finger or criticize anyone because someone taught me a lesson a long time ago. It's like people coming to your athletic event, and you've always heard, coaches or players who say, hey, I can't believe the fans didn't turn out. Somebody told me a long time ago, that's the fans' money. They can do what they want. And for you to criticize them at all is not right. Give them reason to come out, and they'll show up. And if they don't, that's their business, not yours, and you shouldn't get on them. So understand where I'm coming from on this. It's not a criticism at all. They can feel the way they want to feel. They can express it. And frankly, I understand it. You know why? Because it's been a heck of a roller coaster, hasn't it, guys?
Yes, it has.
Let's just be honest about it. You guys are some of the most credible people in the business. And the different reporting that comes out, and I'm not saying what you reported or didn't report, but let's put it on the table. There are a lot of names that came rolling through there, okay? And some of them became very significant names. Butch Jones' name was not one of those. Am I correct about that?
Correct.
So what you have is what I call, and I hope that he will not be insulted if he hears about this, and if so, I hope he will see through what I'm trying to say because it's not an insult, but it's what got him, and I call it the Ron Zook syndrome. And I played for Coach Zook, and I just recently saw him. My point being this. When Jeremy Foley has acknowledged it, the athletic director of Florida is acknowledged as one of the best in the business. Am I correct on that, guys?
Yes.
Yep.
You remember when Steve Spurrier quit to go to the Redskins and he had to have a new coach?
Yeah, he shot for the moon after that, didn't he?
Do you remember what he did? And it was too what? It was too public and visible.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not saying that you can hide much anymore. I mean, I'm getting all these text messages, a tail number, such and such flight going to such and such. It's hard to hide. But anyway, he went where? He went to Denver when Mike Shanahan was the sitting head coach of the Denver Broncos and talked to him. So now the Florida fans are like, whoa, two-time Super Bowl winning coach, possibility, great. He flew from there to Norman, Oklahoma. Talked to Bob Stoops. People went over the moon. Bob Stoops, because you remember Bob, they won national championship. Bob Stoops, D coordinator, and he won national title at Oklahoma already. Remember that?
Yep.
He hired Ron Zook. Thud. Now, I don't know when the first fire insert name of coach.com website existed. I think it was around the time of fireronzook.com. I think that's about when the phenomenon either really started or took off.
I think you're right.
Okay? I was working local radio in Orlando when that happened, and it was a firestorm, guys. Partly because the names that were trotted out at first. I'm not saying right or wrong. It's just human nature. Now let's backtrack to Tennessee very quickly, right? What name captured the fancy of everyone? John Gruden.
Yep.
Everyone was all in. Every chip was in the middle of the table for Tennessee fans, if I'm not incorrect. Am I off base?
No, that was the People's Choice.
Right?
Yes.
That had the snowball's chance of ever happening. Yet, the message was never controlled. And since it wasn't, it just kept feeding on itself until finally John Gruden's agent made the comments, correct?
Well, actually, we had it before John Gruden's agent, but yes.
But what I'm saying, Jimmy, is did we hear from the university?
No.
Okay. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
The message wasn't taken care of that way. Now it's out there, and it's not being controlled, and it's not being addressed. So everyone's dreaming. Listen, you guys know I've known John a long time. John and I never spoke about this job, okay? But my gut told me, This isn't happening. And I expressed that. I had people who don't know John tell me how stupid I was, even though I do know John. Okay? Because people wanted this to happen. Then move on, and we had Mike Gundy's name, yes. We had Charlie Strong's name, yes. Where many thought Charlie Strong was a done deal. And then he hires Butch Jones. I've been very long-winded here, which is one of my biggest faults in the world. But my point of all of this is the same as at Florida. We had some very significant names that came up, and our people count me a part of that because I am part of Big Orange Country and will be a vol until they lower me into the earth. And even in the hereafter. Hopefully it's a good hereafter for me. That's what our people were counting on, and that's what they saw and heard. No matter what, at that point, Butch Jones' name is not the name anyone wants to hear, so he's got a tough go right from the beginning. Now, I have not seen the press conference. I've heard that it was good, from what little people have told me. I've not seen anything, heard anything, any of that. That's part of what Butch can do. Butch will be tireless in terms of getting out in the community, meeting people, connecting, all those things. And frankly, I think there's a significant dose of that needed for what we have at Tennessee now. I think that in our last few guys, there was a sense of, I'm here to coach football, and you're going to show up no matter what we do. And we're not at that stage anymore. People have to be impressed by what you do now. Now, obviously, the wins and losses are key, but I think people would like to touch the coach again. They'd like to feel like he's one of them. And that's where I think Butch Jones will be an asset. Now, the rest of it, I've heard people say, well, Coach Dooley waxed that guy when he was Cincinnati, so how good can he be? Well, guys, come on. It's apples and oranges. I will also tell you this. There's no guarantees on any hire that anyone ever makes. But let me trot out a few, of the so-called not first choices or not popular names. Okay? Krzyzewski over at Duke. Anyone remember? I mean, you guys are old enough. I don't know if you are, Vince, because you're a youngster.
Thank you very much.
Jimmy, you and I are old enough to remember when Mike Krzyzewski got hired at Duke. That was a resounding thud from the Iron Dukes and their people on the hire. Now, fast forward 3 years, and they're getting beat, 102 or 10 whatever to 66 by Virginia in the ACC tournament. Remember that one?
Yeah, they're pretty bad after 3 years.
Fire Mike Krzyzewski, remember? Now, back then, your athletic director was strong enough that if they wanted to do something, they could get it done, and Tom Butters did. He called in Mike Krzyzewski and gave him a 10-year contract, and people lost their mind. Worked out pretty well. Now, again, I'm not saying that Butch Jones will be Mike Krzyzewski. That's not my point. My point is he was unpopular when he was first hired. Who's this guy from Army that's just a little over 500, and why has he got such great magic? Working at a place like that, how are we supposed to know? Now, I'll give you another one. I was at Stanford, and you have to understand, you have to look at it strictly in Stanford time. Tyrone Willingham. Talk about unpopular. Everybody thought Ted Leland, the AD, had lost his mind. Think about Willingham's success at Stanford with their academic standards being what they were at that time. They went to a Rose Bowl at one point, went to bowl games consistently, put up big numbers before he left for Notre Dame. That's another one. Now, I'm going to give you one last one, There's a school in the Big Ten that hired a football coach back in 1968-69, somewhere in that neighborhood. And when he was hired, you know what the headline of the newspaper said? Bo who? ? And people lost their mind. Worked out okay for Schembechler. Now, all I'm saying by throwing out those examples is very simply this. Sometimes it works better than you think. Winning the press conference and the name isn't always the number one thing. And how many times have we had that golden hire that just flat out hasn't worked? We could cite that ad nauseum, and I won't do that to you right now. Let's give Coach Jones a chance. Let's give him an opportunity to try and get us back to where we are. And I hope my school accepts the challenge of understanding what it takes once again to be big time in college football. This isn't all about the football coach now. I challenge my administration. I challenge my university to work with our new football coach and to make sure that we are on the same level playing field with the rest of our SEC brethren in terms of bringing in the right players and then Coach Jones coaching them up, making them good citizens, all that other good stuff.
Charles, what are the things about Butch Jones as a coach that you like, having watched Cincinnati and maybe even Central Michigan?
Central Michigan, even before that.
Yeah.
We're going to be high octane on offense, but everyone says that. All right, that's just how it is. Okay, but he does develop players. All right, he does develop guys who you may not know names right now, but you go back and look and then watch how they go in. I just talked to an NFL personnel guy today, and he says that he and his staff develop players for the NFL ready to play, like him, endorsed him in terms of that. Okay, that's one thing I like. Two, very big on the character of the guys. Very big on the character of how they carry themselves, how they conduct themselves, how they treat each other. What happens a lot of times on teams, as you guys well know, is sometimes if one side of the ball is better than the other, that side of the ball feels entitled. He'll have none of that. Team all the way through. The key is going to be for him, for Butch, and I'd say it if he were sitting here, is what are we going to do defensively? Because that's how you're going to have to win games in the SEC. All right, the idea of outscoring people is anathema in the SEC. All right, you guys know that as well as I do. You've got to have people who can make stops because the other teams you're going to play have people that can make stops. That's going to be big. And recruiting. You know, he's been at Central Michigan. He's been at Cincinnati. The proof will be in the pudding about recruiting. I think that he can get this done because he'll have better resources, a better place to get to recruit to. He will have to prove it in the SEC because I've said this many times. You guys have pointed out yourselves. Let's be honest about it. We rate recruiting like we do the top 25 during a season, don't we? And frankly, Tennessee's numbers haven't been that bad if you're talking about, hey, top 25, Tennessee's like 12th or 13th in the nation in recruiting. Unfortunately, that's what? 6th, 7th in the conference? That's the problem. You can't be 12 or 13 and be happy if you have 5, 6, 7 teams in your own conference ahead of you in recruiting. That's where it has to jump up. That's where things have to take a leap, and that's part of where our administration has to be involved to make sure we have an opportunity to make sure we get these kids and have those kids come to our school. And we do everything we have to do, everything necessary to get them through school. And when I say get them through school, give them their best opportunity to embrace the education that will come their way.
Charles, how important is it for Butch Jones to have at least one coach, one or even more than that, coaches with SEC recruiting experience and background?
Crucial. And Vince, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think we're both going the same direction.
Yeah.
I think it's crucial because he's got to navigate those waters, and he's got to have someone speak for him. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I'll put to you in terms of, I'll put to you in terms of when we were kids. Do you remember the first cute little girl you liked in like the 6th or 7th grade? Did you ever talk to her directly, or did you send one of your boys to talk to her girl?
I'm Italian. I'm pretty direct, so I'll tell you, I was direct. But
you're one in a million. Jimmy and I
was a paper messenger
to meet with her lieutenant, and guess who cut the deal? They did, and then you two met at the dance.
Mm-hmm.
You need someone to speak for you first to kind of vouch for you. Go through that door in SEC country. That's why I think that would be crucial for them. I think that for Butch, if he needs to look at the staff that's there at Tennessee already, and I don't think it hurts at all. And I'm not telling him what to do. I would never do that. He knows better than I do. But I would say take a good hard look at having those people that you're talking about, Vince, and some people who understand the University of Tennessee to help him navigate that too. That'll be close to him, and then people that will work for him.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the VFL. It'd be nice for at least one, right?
Yeah, I think a minimum of one. Now, he doesn't have to go overboard and hire everyone. It's kind of like this conversation I had the other day where people were saying, well, has Dave Hart reached out to talk to you? But I said, Dave Hart doesn't have to reach out and talk to me. Okay, that's not Dave Hart's job. All right? Dave Hart has to talk to the people that he knows the best to get the best read. It's kind of like this. If I have a crucial decision to make in my life, if you have a crucial decision to make in your life, if Jimmy has a crucial decision to make in his life, who are you going to talk to? The people closest to you, the people who know you best, and the people you trust the most, correct? So when we're saying, hey, I had a lot of people say, well, Dave Hart ought to be talking to all the Vols. Well, unfortunately for Dave, he probably doesn't know all the Vols yet. He's working on it. But again, every Vol he talks to, when we talk, is that gospel to Dave? Or is he talking to people that he knows, okay, I know I'm getting a straight skinny from this guy? Because we all have agendas too. So he had to be very careful with that. That's why I was telling all my guys, cut it out. Quit getting on Dave Hart about that. I think you're making yourself too important. We're not that important. Are we important to embrace? Yes. Are we important to bring into the fold? Without a doubt. But are we so important that Dave has to talk to us to do the job that he's paid to do? The answer is no. That's what he gets paid to do, and that's what he's had to do. I'm not sure this has gone exactly the way he's wanted it to go, but he's done the best job he can under the circumstances. And guess what? Butch Jones is our coach now. Let's go. I had one friend tell me that he doesn't want to be a Vol anymore. I was like, really? After all we've been through, you don't want to stick it out and see this thing happen? Nope, no confidence, zero, done. Okay, don't call me again. Okay, don't call me back if this thing turns in the right direction. And if you feel so strongly that you're hoping it continues to go in the wrong direction, I definitely don't want to talk to you anymore. Are you kidding me? This is what we do. We persevere. We fight. We find a way. I'm counting on Butch Jones to lead us back to the prominent place we're supposed to be in. I can't help it. That's how I look at us. I don't look at us as a team aspiring to something. I look at us as a program that has a rightful place that we need to reassume. Call it arrogant, but that should be the Tennessee way. I'm sorry.
Charles, do you think that a lot of fans understand how hard it is to pry a successful coach at a successful program away?
No, I don't think they do, and I don't think that that's their fault either, because there are enough examples where it's happened, Jimmy, okay, that we think that each one of ours is going to make that happen too. Does that make sense? It's happened on a few occasions, but we always think that our school is that place that they're going to go to. But most of them, no matter what school, they're just going to use you as leverage anyway and make their deal better. Charlie Strong, I don't think, used us as leverage. I think Charlie Strong did everything but take our job. That's what I think happened.
Well, he told Dave Hart he was coming, and then he changed his mind.
I think ultimately, you know what happened? He slept on it, and he woke up, and you remember all the comments Charlie made during the season about loyalty and sticking it out for guys, and Tom George gave me my first opportunity, and no one else did. Remember that? I think he woke up in the middle of the night and saw his words across the ceiling of his room and said he couldn't do it. That's what I think happened. It didn't hurt at all that they're going to the ACC and he's going to get more money. Okay, so I'll add the cynicism in before anyone else will. But ultimately, I think that's what swayed it for Charlie.
Well, Charles, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for visiting with us and taking the time. Thanks for your analysis, and we look forward to visiting with you again.
Hey, I look forward to it too, guys, and I hope I'm going to be as unequivocal as I can. You ready?
Shoot.
I'm behind Butch Jones 100%.
All right.
He's our coach.
Charles, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Charles.
Bye-bye.
All right. That is Charles Davis, former Tennessee Vol.